You are welcome to today's session for the grade 6 coding lessons. My name is Afikile Sikwebu. Otherwise, you can call me Mr. Sikwebu for this session. I hope that you will enjoy our time together, and I hope that when we are done with the lesson, that you will be able to understand everything that we are going to learn. So today we are going to be learning about coding, and I will just go through a few slides just to help us to understand what we are going to do. And if there is any question at any time, please just raise your hand and you can ask your question in the chat section, and I will take some questions. Perhaps if you wanted to, you can write your questions and we will take those at the end of the session. I really want to beg you guys that you pay attention and that you limit the chatting in the chat section. So this is me. This is my face. I am a teacher at Linkside High School. It's a high school in Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape, and I teach digital technologies and computer applications technologies. So yeah, so what is coding, or rather, let's look first at the outcomes of today's session. Today we are going to look at, or rather at the end of this session, we want to have an understanding of what coding is. We will have an understanding of what an algorithm is. So when we talk about coding, we will also talk quite a lot about the algorithms. And so we want to understand the two terms together, how they go together. And then thirdly, we are also going to understand how to use the Mzora platform, which we are going to use today. And then finally, we are going to together create a basic algorithm. And yeah, so that's what we want to do at the end of the session. So coding, according to some research, or really as I was thinking about coding, coding to me is the language that is used by computers to understand the commands that you give them. We must understand that a computer is just a machine. It doesn't know anything beyond what a person tells it to do. So coding is that language that a computer understands. And so we write a set of commands, and the computer will then listen to this set of commands, and it will respond to those set of commands. And that is what coding is. An algorithm, on the other side, is a step-by-step way of solving a problem or completing a task. So for instance, if I were to ask you what the steps are to making coffee, you would then begin by telling me things like, let's assume that you are sitting in the living room and I say, please go and make me a cup of coffee. The first thing is that you need to get up from the couch. If you are sitting on the couch, you need to walk to the kitchen. You need to take the kettle, fill the kettle with water. And I'm going to miss some steps here now and again. Plug in the kettle, switch the plug on, and then switch the kettle on, of course. And there are a few steps that you would take to make your cup of coffee. And so that is what an algorithm essentially is in computer programming. It is the steps that we take as we write our program. Then thirdly, when we are writing algorithms in coding, there are sometimes we experience bugs, not the creepy crawlies that come and bother us at night when it's dark, but we have what we call a computer bug. Now, a computer bug is a mistake which happens in code, which makes the code to produce unexpected results. Maybe we'll make some few bugs, and then we will fix them together. So you wanted the computer to do something, and the computer went and did something else, which you think you did not tell it to do. So the bug is that aspect of your code which produced those results. Remember, a computer only does what you tell it to do. It cannot think on its own. So a bug is usually produced by the person that is writing the code. Okay, so that is it for me talking about coding. We are now going to go and look at the platform that we are going to use today. Sorry, let me just check something. Okay, so we are going to look at the program that we are going to use today. I want to just share my screen quickly. Okay. So I want on your computer to open an internet browser, whether you are, if you are using Internet Explorer, if you're using Firefox, if you're using any other internet browser, I want you to open your internet browser, and on your browser, you will then go to mszora.co.za, mszora.co.za, and you will then click on enter. Then when you have clicked on mszora.co.za, you will then come to this dashboard. And this is your dashboard. And because I have registered before, it will say welcome. Then it will write your name, and you can then click on this MS Zora blocks. On the MS Zora blocks, you will be brought to this screen. So I'm just going to wait for just a few seconds for everybody else to load. And I think after 10 seconds, I'm sure that everybody else, their screens will have also loaded. Okay, thank you. So I assume that everybody's screen is loaded. And so what we are going to do firstly is to look at the interface that is in front of us. If your interface is open, if your MS Zora is open, we want to look at what the basic interface has. So we have a few sections. We have this block palette section, and this block palette section, it has code. There's code, and there's costumes, and then there's also sounds. So when we look at code, this is where all the code that we are going to use when we create our algorithms is found. So we have the motion blocks, we have the looks blocks, which changes the looks of your sprites, or if you want to have a conversation, you have the looks block. We have sound, which obviously it plays sound. You can also record your own sounds, and we have events, which basically are there to start your program. It's usually called your head blocks. It's usually called your head blocks. We then have control, which are going to help to make decisions in our programs. We have sensing, we have operators, and we have variables and other blocks. So this is where our coding lies. Whenever we want to write code, this is where we are going to come. Then costumes, we'll see that as we look at costumes, I'm going to explain what that is all about when we start looking at our scripts or our characters. I'm going to explain that just a bit later. We have our backdrops. So a backdrop, I'm going to also explain that. And then we have our sounds. Now, whenever we want to play a sound, we can insert a sound, we can record a sound, And when we want to play the sound, you press play and it will play. Then you can hear what sound you are using. So we have the code, we have the backdrops or the backgrounds, and then we have the sounds. So that is the code, that is the blocks palette. And we then have the scripts area. This entire section here, this entire block is our scripts area. And that is where we place all our coding blocks to make an algorithm. So everything that we place here is what we might use in our program, but we'll talk about that when we start creating a program. Then if you wanted to zoom in, you can zoom in right here or zoom out, zoom in and zoom out. If you're running out of space, as you will see, our algorithms can get larger as we go on. So that is where you will zoom in and zoom out in the scripts area. And then we have our scripts pane. If I can just select a sprite, we have our scripts pane. I will choose this sprite. And this is, we call this a sprite, or you can call it your character, whatever you want to call it, but we call it a sprite in Misora. And the sprite has a name. You can change your name if you want to. You can change your name. And we then have the location of where it is in our scripts area. On this pane. So I will not explain this for now. I will explain it later when we start playing around with Misora. So you will see also there's an X and there's also a Y, but I'll explain that further on. You can show or hide your script. You can show or you hide it. You can change its size. So at this point, it is 100%. It is the full, it is its full size. If you wanted to make it smaller, you can change the number. You can use numbers between 1 and 100. So I will make it, let's make it half its size, and you can move it around wherever you want it to be on the screen. And then finally, you have backdrops, which are your backgrounds. If I click on the backdrops, you have then categories of backdrops. This is all the backdrops that we have available. You can scroll down. You can scroll down. These are all the backdrops we have available. We also have, you can choose by category. And if I choose outdoors, let's say I wanted to choose, let's choose a boardwalk. And we are going to make our script walk on our boardwalk. So that is essentially what Misora looks like at this point in time. And so that is the interface. We have now looked at the interface and we see how the interface looks and where each section of the interface is. Then perhaps I want to also come and say, if you are an artist, which I am not, and you wanted to draw your own scripts, you can draw your own scripts and you can upload them, or you can draw your backgrounds and you can also upload them on Misora. And to do that, you will see it says choose a sprite, but you will choose to upload a sprite. Unfortunately, I have no sprite that I have drawn at this moment, but you would then upload the sprite, choose upload sprite, and you navigate to where your sprite is, and then click choose for upload. It will then come in and you will have your sprite in your program. Then if we go back to what you will remember, I said we would look at, we said we would look at the costumes. Now, when you look at each sprite on Misora, each sprite has different costumes. Some sprites will have only one costume, some will have 4, some will have 5, depending on what kind of sprite it is. So if we look at this one, it has 4 sprites, 1, 2, 3, 4, and these sprites all look different. And so we can see how many costumes each sprite has by coming to this costumes tab. And if you click on the costume number 2, you can see it changes it changes how it looks, if I can put it that way. And if you wanted to, you could also change the colors of your sprite. I'm not going to change the colors because I'm not very good at color coordination. I might just mess her around. So you can change the color of the shoes by clicking on the shoes, and you can click on the color to change the color of her shoes. You can change how she looks. Whether if you wanted to look the other way, you can change. She will look. Okay, she's supposed to turn the other way. Okay, there she turns. So you can change the orientation also, and you can also flip her vertically or horizontally, however you wanted to change. So we have done that. You can also do the same for your backdrop. If let's say you have a backdrop, you can also do the same. You can also design your own backdrop. You can also upload your own backdrop. So that is just about the last thing. Finally, in Misora, you can also save and retrieve a save project, or save or get back your saved project. So what I want to do, now that we have a new project, we have a project, I'm going to first give this project a name. And let's say I want to say lesson 1. I want to save it as lesson 1, and then I say save to your computer. You will see then that it is going to be saved on my computer as lesson number 1. Now, if I wanted to open it again at a later stage, I'm going to open one that I was working on earlier. So I will say File, Load from your computer. It's going to bring up this dialog box, and I saved this one, Africa TG, and I will say choose for upload. Then it's going to ask me whether I want to replace the contents of this current project. I will say yes. It's going to load project, and obviously it's the same thing that I had done before. But if it was a different project, if it had different sprites, it would give me those sprites. So, and you will also see that now the file name has also changed to Africa TG. So that is how you save and you open saved files on Misora. Okay, so without spending more time talking, we are now going to start doing or creating algorithms. So what we want is to clear that sprite. You can close that sprite and we start afresh. So we have nothing on our coding palette. We have nothing on our coding screen. We don't have any sprites at this moment. So what we are going to do is to choose a new sprite. And I'm going to choose, let's choose Avery walking once again. All right. And we can place her anywhere we want her on the screen. I'm going to make her smaller by 70%. Okay. And I'm going to choose another sprite. I'm going to choose a ball. Okay. So I have a ball, and we can choose another sprite. And I want to choose, let's just check. Let me get a dog. So there is now a person, there's a ball, there's a dog. Okay, so we have different sprites, and you will see that the sprite that I've chosen, for instance, there's dog 2 here. So dog 2, if I place any code here, that code is going to apply for dog 2. So if I click on dog 2, dog, sorry, if I click on the algorithm, it's going to move whatever has been selected in the scripts pane. Okay, so let me just make my dog a bit smaller. We don't want a dog that is bigger than a person. So, okay, that's maybe a bit small. So let's make our dog a bit smaller. Okay, so we have our dog, and what we now want to do, as you saw, this code here is the code for this dog. It only applies to this dog. Okay, let's call our dog Danger. Let's just call him Danger. Okay, and so it applies to this dog. And if we wanted to code Avery, we would then choose Avery. You will see that the coding pane will be cleared, or the code section will be cleared, because we have not written any code for Avery. Then we also will choose, let's make a move 10 steps, and that is the code for Avery. And if we wanted to choose one for the basketball, we can do that. Let's choose glide 1 second to a random position. So, okay, so you see that whatever code you place on your scripts area right here, it then will change the movement of your script, or whatever the movement of your sprite. So the code that you write here, the algorithm that you write here will then will make a change to your sprite over the other side. So let us now put these away for now. Oh, and then also, sorry, if you don't want to use this code anymore, you can just click your mouse, click and drag this script over to the code section, and it will be deleted. You can do that, or you can right click and then delete this block. So let's do the same for this one. We can delete that block. Okay, so we have 3 scripts, our Danger, our Ball, and our Ivory. So what we are going to do is to add a background. I liked this background, so let's use this one. I like it. It's at the beach, seeing that we can't go and swim, so I'm going to use that one. So now what we want to do is we want to make Avery to walk from where she is, and she is going to walk across our boardwalk. So she's going to walk from here all the way to this side. Okay, so what we want to do is to check now. If we look at our coding, at where our code is, if we look at code, we have different kinds of categories. Once again here, we have motion, we have looks, we have sound, we have events, we have control, we have sensing. There's quite a lot of scripts that we can choose from. So I think if I look at what I have on my screen, and I said that I want Avery to walk from one point to the next, my mind then tells me that I should actually maybe choose a script from motion, because that is what talks about movement. So we are then going to choose, let's say, move 10 steps, and we are going to drag move 10 steps. You click, you hold, you click your mouse, you hold, and you drag move 10 steps to your scripts area. And now we have her to move 10 steps, but she is not yet moving. So if I double click on the move 10 steps, you will see that she will then start to move, okay? But we don't want to keep clicking on this move 10 steps all the time for her to move, okay? So let's see what else we can make her do. So let's say move 10 steps, and let's say she must turn 15 degrees. So let's just see what happens if we say move 10 steps and turn 15 degrees. Okay, so move 10 steps, turn 15 degrees. You see what keeps happening. If I click again, she just keeps going in circles, okay? So that's fine. So let's say I wanted her to turn around. Now that she's facing this way, I could either, if I realize, oops, I made a mistake, I can just say, move 10 steps and turn -15. Okay, click her twice, and then she's going to turn around. So that is that. We can say, let's say, what happens when you say go to random position? So if we click on that go to random position, oh wow, she moves over to a different position in the screen. And if we keep on clicking it, she moves to a different position on the screen. So that is what we can do, okay? So let's try one last one. And let's try this one and see what happens. So it says go to X and Y. So go to X, Y minus 184 and Y minus 53. Now, what is this telling her to do? You will remember in the beginning or at the beginning, I said that there is this X and Y here. So it's X and Y axis, which tells us where our sprite is on our screen. So this is our screen section right here. So where the edge of the background ends, that is our scripts section. And each point on this script section has a number, okay? It just has a number, and this number, so at this point, she is at this position and that position. So if we change this, you will see it will change here, okay? So if I remember, it's -87, let's say it's 32 and let's make it 42 and 23. If we put her here, and then we say go to 42, 42, and I think was it 23? If it's, let's try. So if I say go to position 42 and 23, she will then move over to that position. Okay, now that is how we can put her at a different position. So you may, if you wanted to, you don't have to know, you can, if you move her around, you can see just about where she is on the screen. And if you know, if you have an idea of where you want to place her, you can then choose the sprite and it will do that for you. So let's make every walk. If we want to make a walk, what we want to do, we'll move, but we don't want her to glide on our screen. So we are going to go and look at another, or look for another script that is going to help us to do that. So we are going to check under looks. Let's see what is there under looks. We have say hello. So we have speech bubbles. So if we put the speech bubble, she talks, she says hello, but it still doesn't help us in what we want to do. We want her to have a movement effect on her feet. So we are going to, so we know that we don't want her to think, we don't want her to talk, so we want something else. So let's see which one it could be. Let's say it says here, next costume. Remember, we said we have costumes. And if we have costumes and we say next costumes, it's going to go to the next costume, okay? So let's say we put this one here and we click them together, and you see when we snap them together, or when we click them together, we join them, and you still see that we have this code here. But because it's not, okay, or rather we have this code here, and if we click on it, it only does the move 10 steps and it changes the costume, but it doesn't say hello for 2 seconds. Why is that? The reason for that is because this say hello for 2 seconds is not part of our algorithm. If we wanted her to say hello for 2 seconds when she moves or after she moves, we would then have to click this script and join it to our algorithm. So now let's see what happens. So that we can see exactly what is happening, let's make it very slow. Let's make it very slow So you will see now, if we look at our algorithm or our set of instructions or our set of steps, if we click on this algorithm now, she's going to move 10 seconds. She's going to wait, she's going to move 10 steps, sorry. She's going to wait 1 second. She's going to change the costume. She's going to wait another 1 second, and then only she's going to say hello. So let us click and see what happens. Okay, so you see, she follows the steps that we had told her to follow. She doesn't do anything else that we haven't instructed her to follow. Okay, so that is how an algorithm works. So we are going to take this apart. We are going to take this apart, and we are going to make her move 10 steps, and we are going to change the costume. But as we said before, we don't want to we don't want to keep clicking this button to cause her to move. All right, there should be another way of doing that. And we are going to introduce, we are now going to introduce ourselves to what we call a loop. Okay, so we are going to use a loop in order for us, or in order for Avery to keep walking without us having to keep pressing all the time. All right, so let us go and look, where can we find something that is going to repeat? And we call that a loop. So as we see, we have here repeat. And so we want to take this repeat and put it in our scripts area here. So what we have now is a script that is going to cause our sprite to keep moving, but she will only move the number of times that we have told her to move. After the 10th repeat, she is going to stop. So what we're going to do is that we want this algorithm that we have written here, move 10 steps and then change costume, and we want to put it or place it inside this repeat, not outside, because if we place it outside, it's waiting. So it's going to move 10 steps, it's going to change costume, it's going to repeat 10 steps, or it's going to repeat it 10 times, but it's not going to repeat anything because there are no scripts that are placed inside it. So what we want to do is to take this repeat or take the code and put it inside the repeat. So now, if we click on our repeat, okay, she's moving quite fast, okay? And let's see if we can make her move slower. Okay, let's change this. Okay. Okay, you can play around with you can play around with the movement that is here. You can play around with the numbers and make her just have a more natural movement. So you can play around when you have some time. So we are going to repeat it 100 times for her to walk from this side to the other side, okay? Then we have one more thing that we want to do. We want this dog, let me cause the dog, let me say the dog must go this way. We want the dog also to move towards Avery, okay? So I will then go and choose motion. If you remember, we said move 10 steps. You will also remember that we went to, is it events or control? I think it's control. We said repeat. Okay, so we put the move 10 steps inside of the repeat, and we also want the dog to change the costume. Let's see the dog's costumes. Now, the dog walks. Okay, let's change this one also. The dog walks and then it starts thinking, but we don't want the dog to think. We don't want the script Okay, so we can delete the script so that the dog just keeps moving. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, it's walking the other way. So you'll see that there's one bug in our code. The dog is walking backwards. I've had dogs, they don't like walking backwards. So there's a bug in our code, bug number 1. Our dog is walking backwards. So you will see that it says move 10 steps. So what we can do in order for the dog to move this way is to say move minus 10 steps, because it's going the opposite direction. So now if we click on it, it's going to move the opposite direction. Okay, so now we have done that. So we have Avery who is walking this way. We have our dog or Danger walking that way. Now, you will see that I only can press one at a time. I wish I was Superman, that I could just press, and then quickly before Danger walks, I can come and press again for Everett to start walking, so they walk at the same time. But I'm not that quick. I don't have those superpowers yet. So what we can do to solve that problem is to come to events, and we choose what we call a head block. Can I just remove these ones? We choose, we can select what we call a head block, and we have different events. So an event says when something happens, or when, for instance, this event says when the flag is clicked, whatever is under here, it is going to start happening. So we have when flag is clicked, which is when this flag is clicked, do whatever is connected to the sprite. So if we, to the script, sorry. So if we click the flag now, nothing happens because there is no, we don't have any scripts that are attached to this head block or to this event block. So if we looked at when the space button is key is pressed, it must do something. We can choose when up arrow is pressed, when right arrow is pressed, when A is pressed. So we have different event blocks that we can use. But for today's session, we are going to use this one, when flag is clicked, so we can join these two. So now when I click when flag is clicked, when I click this flag, it is then going to start it is going to start moving Avery. And so we see that is happening, okay? So it is going to do that 100 times. So let me just change that and put it back at 10. So we have our when flag is clicked, but we see that the dog has not moved, or Danger has not moved. So we can come to Danger and tell Danger also that, hey, Danger, when I click the flag, you also must start moving. And so I will click the flag, and they both start moving at the same time. Okay, so let's say they must move 50 times. Okay, so also here, they must move 50 times. So we now have our sprites moving 50 times. But you see, when they get to the edge of the screen, then they disappear, so to speak. So in order for us to solve that, we can use a motion block. If I can just find it, then this motion block says if on edge, you must bounce. So now we have another block, and if you look at it, it says if on the edge, you must then bounce. If she's not yet on the edge, so she's not going to bounce. But once we join this block, when we start our program, when she gets to the edge, she's going to start bouncing. But so let's see if we do that. Now you see, she's walking upside down. That is one superpower that I would like to have. I still don't yet have. So if you want your scripts to your sprites to walk upside down, it's cool. I don't have a superpower called upside down movement, so I want her to change, to stop walking upside down when she hits the edge. So if I come here and I click on this set rotation style left to right, it will fix that for us. So now she's moving from left to right. And we can then do the same for danger. If on edge danger, please, you must bounce, and then you must set the rotation style left to right. Okay, danger also has a bug. So let's see, let's try and fix our bug. Okay, so we have a bug on our danger. We are going to fix it, but I'm not going to try to fix it now in the interest of not running out of time. But don't worry, it will be fixed before I suppose I'll do that, and I will show you the fix. Okay, so we have this ball, okay? And this ball, it only moves when we click it. And we want to write the algorithm for the ball, okay? So what we are going to do, I want to make the ball, for instance, when I click the up arrow, the ball must go up. If I click the down arrow, the ball must go down. If I click the left, it must go left. And if I click on the right, it must go to the right. So what we do is that, of course, the ball is clicked. And now because the ball is clicked, I can start working on the ball. So I will come to motion the same way that we moved Avery. But this time, I want to use a different script, okay? I want to use a different script, and you will see why as we go ahead. You will remember once again, we said we have X and we have Y. And I think it's about time that I explain what those two things stand for, or those two values stand for. Now you see, there is an arrow to the left of X. There's two arrows, which is pointing, one is pointing left and the other is pointing right. So if whenever we talk about the X value, we are talking about this type of movement. So left and right, the horizontal type of movement, okay? So you will see if we do this, only the X will keep moving, okay? And then if we take the ball and we take it up, we are talking about the vertical type of movement, okay? So this is Y, and this is our X movement, okay? So now we are not going to use for the ball, move 10 steps. We are going to use these two here. So change X by 10 or change Y by 10, depending on the key that we want to press. So what we are going to do, we want, when we press the ball, when we press the left arrow, we are going to start with the left arrow. We want the ball to go left. So we are going to say, is it change, if to left is change X. So we want to change the X. So we are going to say change X by 10. Now, you will see if I click on it, it goes to the right, but we don't want it to go to the right. So it says change X by 10. And if you look at the X right here, it is at 39 now. It is the 39. If we say change X by 10, it's going to add 10 to the 39, and it's going to be 49. So anyway, there it goes to 49. Then it changes its place, but we are not in a class, in a math class here. So we just had to have some fun. So we wanted to go the other way. So we, instead of saying by 10, we are going to say change by minus 10. And so if we click on it, it goes the opposite direction. So now we have the movement for it. We then want to create, the code that is going to listen to when we press our, our, our left key. So what we do, we want this thing to sense us. We want it to sense the keyboard. Okay, so let's go and look what is available to us. So if we look at motion, there is nothing that talks about us being sensed. If we look at looks, there is nothing about that. And we can go down, and then if you can look at events, we could do it one way with the events, but we are going to do it differently. So if you look at sensing, we have, if sort of touching mouse pointer, they have touching color. We don't want that. We want key. So if this key is pressed, so if the space is pressed, there's something that must happen. So let's take this one here. You will keep also hearing in my speech that I keep saying if, but we don't see if here. So we want to make sense of my speech. So I'm saying that if I press the left key, something must happen, but there is no if here. So we come to control and we see, is there an if here? We find there is an if, but there's also an if, then, else. So what is then the difference? So if we are going to, let's try and make sense of what is going on. We are saying we must change the X button by 10. We have key left arrow pressed, if then. So all of these look like jumbled code to me. So what we are going to do, let's make them make some sense. Okay, not sure what's going on. Okay, there we are. So what we want to do, I'm going to depend on our English now. We say, if the key left arrow is pressed, we come and put it. Can you see that it's got these edges here? It's got these pointed edges, which means that this block can fit here. This one has these cornered edges, as it were, which means these cannot fit here, but it does fit here. This fits here, but it cannot fit here. So what we do is that we say, if what then? So if the key left arrow is pressed, then you must change X by -10. Okay, so but if you click on your left arrow now, nothing is going to happen. Nothing happens. So there is something that is not yet done. So let's see what is not yet done. Let's see if we can put when clicked. Let's see what happens. Okay, now it does. It just goes on. Oh, sorry. I see what happened. Let's detach this one and let's remove this one also, so that we are only dealing with the ball. So let me also just hide these two so that we only have the ball on our screen. So you see, if I click on it, if I click on my left key, still nothing happens. You'll see if I click, it just flashes. Can you see it just flashes and nothing happens? So we want the computer to keep repeating whenever we press the left key, we want the computer to always be listening to our key press, all right? So we are now going to come back to control, and we are not going to now use repeat. We are going to use another loop called forever. So we then have now forever. And if we take all of our code that can fit inside forever, which does not include this head block, we can then come and do this, put all our code inside forever, okay? Or if it is difficult to do, you can just detach this code from here and you attach it inside forever, and then you will join it again to your head block. Now, if you click on the flag, you will see now it becomes highlighted in yellow, and the highlight doesn't disappear. So if I now click on the left arrow, you will see that it then moves to the left. Okay. Now, what happens if we wanted to move to the right? Um, we can either have this code, we can either write this code afresh, okay, which is what we are going. Let's do it that way first. We have when flag is clicked, let's do it this way, forever. If key is pressed, if the right key now, if the right arrow is pressed, we want to change, the X by, now you see here it said X by 10. Now we want it, and if we say X by minus 10, it goes this way. Now we want it to go to the other way, to the opposite direction. So we will leave this at X by 10. So if we now click on it, you will see both of them will be highlighted. So we can now change. Okay, so we can now click on left and right, and it will go either direction according to what we are clicking on our keyboard. All right, so what we've done so far is to have an algorithm that moves our ball left and right, and we have used a loop and an if block, which is called a decision block. And it is then listening. If we do something, then something else must happen. Okay. If I if I click on my keyboard, the left key, it must move to the left. Now let's see, your try and click on the space bar and see what happens. I can click on the space bar till my face is blue. Nothing is going to happen because my program is waiting for me to click on the right arrow. So it will not do anything that is not on this algorithm. Okay. So that is that. So if something happens, then change this by minus 10. But we can also, you can see as, as we go on, this can become quite a long, or it can take up a lot of space. So what we can also do, you will see that there is an if, then, else. So let's try and use this one. If I can just minimize my screen, I hope you can still see. So let's put them both here. So we have an if, then, else. So what we can do is to take our code, okay, and detach it from there, and then put if, then, else. So now what happens, it says, if our left key is pressed, then what must I do? Then change the X value by minus 10. So we don't need this anymore. So if the X key is pressed, then change X by minus 10. Else, or else, if we say it in English, change X by, or else if the right key is pressed, change the X value by 10. So if we can read it now, it says, um, when, when I click the flag, forever do the code that is inside this block. It says, if the left key is pressed, then you change by -10, or else if the right key is pressed, then change by 10. So if we do that, you will see it continues to Takuzwa. I will take your question in 2 minutes, please. I've seen your hand. I will take your question in 2 minutes. So we have those things there, so we can do this. Now, let's use the same for the y-axis. We want it to move up and down. So what I'm going to do, because we are running out of time, I'm going to show you a cheat. We can right-click all of this and say duplicate. And it is going to duplicate my code. And I'm going to remove the change X. I'm going to come to motion and say change Y. No, sorry, not set Y. Change Y by 10, and then change Y by -10. So now, if I click on the down arrow and I click on the up arrow, you will see what happens. So if I click on up, it goes up. If I click on down, it goes down. So that is how that happens. So I want to, okay, let me save this. And I've saved it as Africa TG. So I can just come here and say save. Because it has been saved already, it's not going to, well, it's just going to save it to my computer, and it's going to save it as Africa TG2 because it's already on my computer, on my downloads folder. So we have come to the end of today's lesson. And essentially, I will still take your questions. I just want to give a summary of what we have done. We have answered what coding is, and we said that coding is simply the language that is used by computers to understand our instructions. And we coded a few instructions that the computer did for us. And then we also said that an algorithm is a step-by-step way of solving a problem or completing a task. We had a task, we wanted Avery to move, and we had wanted Danger to move. We wanted the basketball to move also, and we used an algorithm. We used different algorithms to get those motions to happen. And then we also said that we have bugs in our code, and we saw that we had a bug with Danger, whereby when we click on Danger to move, then Danger continues to walk in one place. I'll fix that, and I think tomorrow morning, that is the first thing that I'm going to show you how to fix that bug. So, and we also looked at the scripts and how to insert scripts, how to change the backdrop, and we looked at how to change costumes. You can play around at home and change the colors of your scripts and do your own projects. So thank you very much for listening to me. And I am now going to take questions, and if our host can help me to unmute the first person to have raised their hand. Takuzwa, you are unmuted, Takuzwa, you can speak. Okay, Takuzwa is not speaking. Let's come to D. D, do you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to ask, can I do it? Is the recording?
Okay, so please write your question and I will read it on the comment section. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who joined late, I'm still trying to get Takuzwa to be unmuted. Those of you who joined late, the link to Zora, Miss Zora, it is www, or rather https blocks.mszora.co.za. Blocks.mszora.co.za. Okay. Let me unmute. Okay. Dee, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Please ask your question.
I wanted to ask
Okay.
if you could record this so I can do it at a later stage on my laptop, because right now I'm using my phone.
Okay, no, that's fine. It will be available on YouTube later on. You can go to Africa Teen Geeks on YouTube and you will find the recording there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
then. All right, you are welcome. All right, we have run out of time. It is 1 o'clock. We have to end our session. I hope I will have your audience, all of you guys, tomorrow morning as we continue with our session. Thank you very much for joining us.
Bye, sir. Bye, sir.